Until the night. Until the night. Whoa, I just might make it. Until the night. You know what was a great album?
What?
Billy Joel, 52nd Street.
Oh, I know. I love every song on that.
Yeah. You know, it's weird. That was like one of the first albums I really liked when I was a little kid. I mean, like a 7th grader. And I don't know. I still love it. Hoka hey, BOOZHOO! And welcome back to BOOZHOO NANABOOZHOO, the podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. And I'm not saying another word until Richard gets here.
I think Richard's here now.
Oh, really? Hey, what do you know? BOOZHOO, Richard. Hey, Jim's here too.
BOOZHOO, Jim.
Natasha says BOOZHOO, Jim. Jim's like, yo, yo, what's up? And Jessica's here. BOOZHOO. Wait, I just did a Natasha impersonation. BOOZHOO. Jessica says BOOZHOO. And Daniel Black is here. Anin. BOOZHOO, people. How you doing? So nice to see you here today. Happy Friday. Happy Nano-Geezha Good. The 5th day. Oh, we made it through 5 days. You put 5 days in, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. So today is Ojibwe word of the day. Mushka'an. Mushka'an. That's the Ojibwe word for flood. Did I do that right? You know what? I think I screwed up the text. Oh, I'm playing a dangerous game. Well, you know what I'm trying to do here. The word of the day is flood. Because, boom. I'm thinking about telling the flood story.
You mean the creation story?
Well, sort of. Our creation story is like, it starts up right after a flood. I don't know the Ojibwe Adam and Eve story. I just know, it seems like our stories kind of start after the flood.
Yeah, they do, huh?
So, mushka'an. Sometimes people ask me, they're like, what's with the apostrophe? Is that possessive or something? And the apostrophe in Ojibwe is kind of like the dash. You know, if you spell the word uh-oh, you'd spell it U-H-O-H, U-H-O-H, and be like, uh-oh. Well, in our way, we use a little apostrophe like that. So it's mushka'an, mushka'an. Kind of like, uh-oh. So that's just a little pronunciation coaching. And, oh, excuse me. That's so rude. I just burped right into the microphone. What's wrong with me? So, yeah. Daniel Black is here. He says, howdy, BOOZHOO crew. BOOZHOO, Daniel. Daniel Muckade. Daniel's here for the Muckade Mushkiki Wabu, our little coffee crew. Friday at 6 a.m. Early to bed, early to rise. Did you guys get out and put out your tobacco yet? The sun isn't up yet. You can still put out your tobacco, say your prayers. Yeah, me either. I got up and I made coffee. I did that for us, huh, honey?
Yeah, you sure did.
Hey, do you want to go to Country Kitchen this morning?
Are they open yet?
Yeah, I think they reopened. I think you can go in there. We got that gift card. Got a gift card for Christmas to Country Kitchen. With $100, we can get anything we want. That would be a pretty big breakfast if we had to spend $100. It's like, well, I'll take 25 orders of pancakes. So yeah, I'll take 2 gallons of coffee, and the rest you can keep as a tip. If you had to, what would you order if you had to have like your last meal? Let's say you're on death row, sweetie.
Why am I on death row?
I don't know, you killed me or something. And so, the Biden administration isn't going to put up with that. They're tough on crime. And so you're on death row, right? And they're like, you can have 1 meal left. This is your last meal. And after this, we're going to fry you.
Oh, geez. Well, I'm not going to have the fried chicken, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, you're going to be the fried chicken. So what would be your last meal?
I would probably have... that's a good question. I'd probably be too nervous to eat.
Yeah, you're not going to enjoy that last meal. You're going to be like... You know what I would do? I would order something that takes a long time to cook. Just buy me more time. I would like the ham and eggs, but I want it from a 100-year-old pig that was just born today. Can you do that? They're like, okay. And he got us on a technicality. Why am I talking about the death penalty? And I'm just a little too short here. Michael, do you want to move the camera or do you want to scoop me up? I mean, we're almost good. But if I stretch over there, it's going to screw up everything. Oh, who cares? So what? This is good enough. I never ask you where you go after I leave you in the morning. Mushka on the flood. Can you imagine? So, the way the story starts, back in the days of the grandfathers. They never talk about this. Like the things that led up to the flood. There's that famous story in the Bible about Noah. And, they always focus on, build me an ark. You mean a boat? Yeah, a boat. Well, why didn't you just say it? What's an ark? You want me to build a McDonald's? No, that's an arch. What is an ark? But they focus on, God told Noah to build an ark. And then, then there's a big flood and 2 of every kind. And it really starts to, I think a lot of people kind of give up on the Bible with the Noah story. They go, wait a second, he built a boat and he gathered up 2 of every animal on the whole planet. Okay. Number 1, how big was this boat? But then people will come and they'll be like, no, he gathered 2 of every kind. You only have to gather 1 kind of dog. You don't have to gather every canine, 1 kind of cat, 1 kind of dog, 1 kind of snake, or I don't know. But anyway, it gets hard to believe. But what I think is more interesting about the flood story is there's a lot of talk. Did you know about this, about the giants? Here I am going back talking about Bigfoot and Paul Bunyan. The giants in the Bible?
They talk about giants in the Bible?
Yeah. I mean, there's the Goliath, right? He fought the little David guy. But apparently, the fallen angels, the angels fell in love with the humans, and they came to Earth, and they wifed up a bunch of women, I guess is one way to put it. And these women had giant babies, and they became giants. And they walked around, and they were evil. because they were the spawn of the fallen angels. The Nephilim. Thank you, Jessica. Jessica just wrote in, they were called the Nephilim. And so part of the flood was that God looked down and went, oh, for crying out loud, what did those guys do now? They interbred with the humans and created these Nephilim. Well, that's why I'm going to wipe out everybody. You know? What have they done to my little home down there? So God was mad because of the fallen angels. And I mean, I guess everyone was wicked, but it wasn't just, you know, the poor Shanabs. It was like all these giants and stuff. Anyway, so he makes it rain. And he drowns out all the people and the giants. And he washes over all their stuff, you know. Just a big old flood. I think they covered up like tons of buildings and stuff during that flood. I think if we keep digging, we're going to find like Noah's house. But so the flood comes. But the animals who could swim well, they survived the flood. You know, there was the loon. In Ojibwe, we call him the mung. There was a loon. Oh, you know what? So the flood happens. And it looks like that. And it looks like this. And then through the magic of my little program here, boom. So Mung, loon, you know, he was okay. He's a great swimmer. And he could fly and stuff. So it was a tough couple of weeks there. What was it, 40 days and 40 nights? It was like a month and a half. And, you know, but he lived. Should I make him small or I'll just get rid of him? And then, boom, there was also the mink. The mink is also a good swimmer. Zhangguishi, mink. So he and Loon were hanging out together. And of course, Beaver, Mick, he was okay. He already built a little house underground and he could swim and he survived. And of course, the elder, Mashike, Turtle. Turtle was fine. You know, he's a good swimmer and a floater and all this. So he's floating around with his buddies there. And finally, what this story is really about, the muskrat, or as my dad would call him, mushrat. The muskrat, Wazhushk, is also survived. You know, Wazhushk is kind of a cousin to the beaver, to Mick. And, you know, people don't talk enough about Wazhushk. So the day came, the rain stopped, and there was a big flood. And you got Wazhushk, Mashike, the turtle, Mick, the beaver, Mung, the loon, and they're all kind of floating around there. And who am I forgetting? Is there somebody else? No, it was just those guys. And they're like, oh man, look at this. The whole place is flooded. All the way to the horizon, you guys. That was some storm. It's like, what should we do? And Mick Beaver goes, you know what? I have an idea. You know, Mick was really wise. Because I think if we can swim down to the bottom, we can grab a little bit of earth. We'll bring it up. We'll put it on the back of Mashike, the turtle, and we'll have a ceremony. We'll sing a song to Gitche Manadu, the Great Spirit. And I believe that Gitche Manadu can call the four winds to, if we sing a good song and we do a good ceremony, he will bless us. And he will recreate a new home for the animals. And so they're like, hey, yeah, man, that's a really good idea. So Mick goes, all right, I'm going to go down there. I'm going to get some dirt. And he takes a big gulp of air. Boom. And he swims. And he swims, and he swims, and he swims, and he swims. And he's gone for a long time. And they're all waiting around like, oh, man. Well, eventually he comes up. Oh, I swam and I swam. But I couldn't reach the bottom. You guys, it's really deep. It's much deeper than I thought. And so they're like, then there was Mong. He's like, hey, man, step aside. I'm Mong, the loon. I'm a great swimmer. I should have did this in the first place. So Mong takes a big gulp of air. And he dives in. Bloop. And he swims. And he swims, and he swims, and he swims, and he swims, and he swims. And he's gone for a long time. And the boys up on top, they're just waiting around. And eventually he comes back. Oh, it's really deep down there, you guys. I swam and I swam, but I couldn't reach the bottom. Hikes. I don't think anybody can. So they're all kind of in a circle there. They're like, well, what should we do, you guys, man? It's too deep. And just then, a little voice from outside that circle pokes up, and it's Wojciech. And he says, maybe I should give it a try. And they turn around like, what, you? No offense, muskrat, but if the mighty loon couldn't make it, what hope do you think you have? And Wojciech says, well, I want to give it a try. They're like, well, go ahead, man. Good luck. And so Wojciech says a little prayer, and he takes a big gulp of air. And he dives in. And he swims, and he swims, and he swims. And he's gone for a long time. And the boys are up on top. And they're sort of, they're waiting around. He's really been gone a long time, huh? Like, yeah. Yeah, he's been gone longer than both those guys. And the boys started to worry. Like, oh, geez, man. Maybe one of us should dive down there. And just then, they looked down. They could see a little figure floating up, a dark figure floating up. And he gets to the surface. And it's Wojciech. He had died. And oh, the boys, they started to cry. They were like, oh, Wojciech, why did you do such a dangerous thing? Oh, sure, we gave you a hard time, but you were our friend. And they cried and they cried. And they sang a mourning song. Their hearts were broken for their loss of their friend. And their cries went all the way to the edge of the horizon. And their tears filled the flooded earth even more. And just then they looked down. And then Wojciech's paw, his little paw, opens up. And what's there? A little bit of dirt. Wojciech had made it after all. They're like, oh, wow, he made it to the bottom. Our friend, he gave his life to get to the bottom and bring us this dirt. And just then, the Great Spirit, Gitchi Manadu, he calls down in a booming voice. He says, hey, boys, put that little bit of earth on the turtle's back. And so they put the earth on the turtle's back. And Gitchi Manadu said, now, I want you to sing an honor song for your fallen friend, Wojciech. And so the boys, they started to sing an honor song. And the Gitchi Manadu, the Great Spirit, he called out to the winds of the four directions, and he commanded them to blow at the same time. and they blew at the same time. And their winds created a tornado right around Mashike, the turtle. And Mashike started to grow. And with him, that little handful of dirt started to grow. And he grew and he grew and he grew. Let's see, I think I have a picture of that. No. Didn't I have a picture of a old turtle growing? I guess not. But he grew and he grew and he grew. And he grew so big. And that little land started to grow trees. And land divided. And became rivers and lakes and whatnot. And eventually, that land grew to the size of all of North America. And so that is why we call this place Turtle Island. Mashike, Minnesay. We should have called it OJIBWE Island, huh? So, all right. This is the story of the flood. Mushka'an, I guess. And the creation of Turtle Island. Yeah, Brandy remembers that turtle. I don't know what I did with it. So Daniel's got to go. Got to go. We'll watch the full show after TTFN. Ta-ta for now, he says. Ta-ta. Ta-ta, Niji. I think that's what Tigger said. Ta-ta for now. So yeah, Muskrat. He is a hero. Did you like that story, sweetie?
Oh, I love that story. It always kind of makes me sad when those guys cry for their friend.
I know, it's a heavy story, you know. I think back in the day, they didn't care if they made kids cry. They're like, hey man, you got to learn something from this story. Yeah, it's sad. Well, welcome to the world. All right. So, 6:27. Sunny day, la-di-da. Hey, okay. Sweetie, did you want to come out here and say hello to the people?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get Natasha over here. And, hey, Michael, would you mind awkwardly carrying me off camera and then carrying Natasha back on and making it look not totally ridiculous? I'd be happy to. All right. This is Michael Lyons, by the way. And I'll be right back. Okay. No, I won't. Natasha will. All right, sweetie. I got them warmed up for you with my story.
Oh, yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah, you know, I'm not sure what the moral of the story is. I think it's that even if you're little, you can do great things.
You know, I think it is. And I also think it's a story of, sacrifice for your people.
Yeah, that's another way to look at it.
Okay, I'm coming, you guys. I'm just powdering my nose.
What are you doing? Snorting the cocaine?
Not that kind of powder.
All right, how come all these, we're so short?
Because we recorded that video yesterday.
Oh, that's right.
BOOZHOO! All right, that wasn't too bad of a transition, was it? La 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 la, fa la 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 doo doo. How you doing, Michael?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Yeah. So yeah, BOOZHOO. Mino giga shape. Good morning, everybody. I forgot my coffee over there again. Oh well. Anybody here a Nibish? How do you say that? Tea drinker? I don't trust tea drinkers. You know, the original colonizers, they were all about the tea. I'm a coffee lady. No. So yeah, it's Friday. It's the 5th day. What should I talk about? You know, one of these days I should get the headline news. I could do like maybe I could be the weather girl.
You know, that's not a bad idea. I wonder if this program has like a green screen capability.
Yeah, we should look into that. But then what am I going to do? Do the weather for the whole world? We've got people in Ireland watching the show, or Scotland watching the show.
Yeah.
So the weather for today in northern Minnesota, clear to partly cloudy skies. It's going to be, seasonably average. I don't know. I don't even pay attention anymore. Unless there's a big storm, I don't care. It's going to be winter in Bemidji. So that means it's going to be cloudy or it's going to be totally clear. If it's clear, it's going to be really cold. If it's cloudy, it won't be so cold. If it snows, it won't be that cold. I mean, that's pretty much what I understand about weather. Jim's like, brr. Brandy Marie says, green tea. Yeah, I hear, I do drink tea, actually. I try to drink 1 cup every day. I've been into that chaga tea. But I like to mix it with a little peppermint tea or some, what's that stuff? I always forget. They make cookies out of it. Ginger tea. But green tea is supposed to be good for your immune system. They're all like, oh, make sure you wear a mask. Well, hey, how about you work up your immune system too? Have some tea, for crying out loud. There's a lot of a friend of mine called the other day and he was like, I'm so sick of hearing all these commercials every day. Oh, wear a mask, wear a mask, wear a mask. Yeah, we get it. We don't need to be reminded every 10 minutes. Put on your mask. But then he goes, how come they're not spending any commercials telling us how to get a good immune system? What foods keep you healthy? Is it healthier to stay inside or should we go for runs outside? I don't know. I feel like we should be outside more. Anyway, I saw a meme of Bernie Sanders in his coat and mittens surrounded by snow. It said, Minnesotans enjoying outdoor dining. Yeah, that's so true. I saw one of those too, and he was sitting in front of Paul and Babe. And then there was one where he was in the stairwell behind Prince on the Pink Floyd, on the Purple Rain cover. That was so cute. Oh, Bernie. You kind of wish he had become president just because he's so adorable. I mean, I don't know. There was a time when I felt the burn, and then I kind of got over it. I don't go along with that. Hey, let's make college free. Really? Like it's not worthless enough already? If you make college free, it's just going to be like extending high school for 4 years. Everybody will do it. It'll be worthless. We're going to have free college. And now people are like, yeah, even free, I'm not going to go. It's all like online. If I wanted to go to the University of Phoenix, I would have signed up. Oh, we're a virtual college. Yeah, okay. We'll make it free. Nothing free is worth anything. I don't know. I say as I work, as we do the show on a free platform, as I downloaded the free Audacity program. I think about this sometimes. Stuff that we can do that, like my dad never would have been able to do. Like record an album. because of the free internet, I mean, yeah, I know we got to pay internet fee, but because of the computer and stuff, I was able to download, and this is like in the year 2000, a studio quality program that would record multiple tracks, sound effects, burn it onto a CD, burn it into a file that could be shared, and then take, TV quality video. I mean, this is kind of crappy, but your telephone videos are really sharp. And, essentially produce like a homemade TV show with music and sound effects and text and everything. This was not possible 30 years ago. Nobody even dreamed that, you know what? Someday when I grow up, I'm going to be on TV. Yeah, everyone's going to be. But, where was I going with this? Oh, it was all free. So, I don't know. Maybe some things are worth something free. They say the best things in life are free. Like, freedom. Freedom ain't free. I used to hate that. Well, how much does it cost to let me out of jail? We got to go bomb a country. I'm not going to talk about politics. I don't understand it well enough. I'm just a pretty girl. I mean, I can't be bothered with that. No. So, what else? College. Should you go to college? I mean, is it the same experience as it was in the old days? Are you learning anything? Does it help you get a job? I saw a poster once, and it had this, oh, my voice. It had, on the one side of the poster was a guy wearing a smart suit. No, it was a girl. She was wearing like a business suit, and she had a briefcase and nice glasses, and she looked like she was, well employed, And on the other side was a guy in old muddy coveralls and like a hard hat or something. And it said, work smarter, not harder. Come to the University of Minnesota, or whatever. It was like an admissions poster that was telling kids, don't work at a place where you get dirty. Go to college, and you can have like a really nice job where you wear nice clothes and you have a briefcase. And then like years go by and you realize that guy in the coveralls is a plumber. He's making $120,000 a year. He owns his own business. That girl is like the greeter at JCPenney's. She's making $10 an hour. So, I mean, I fell for all that stuff. Oh, I'm going to work. I'm going to go to college because then I'll get a high-paying job. So you go to a bank and you go, excuse me, sir, I would like to borrow, $60,000. And he's like, oh, really? What for? Are you going to build a house? Nope. Are you going to start a business and buy a bunch of supplies and advertising and like? Nope. Well, what are you going to do with this $60,000? I'm going to give it to a big institution. I'll buy some books with like, I don't know, 500 of that. But mostly just, I'll be drunk most nights. I'll buy the Cliff Notes and cheat off the internet to get by and get passing grades with a degree that's meaningless in the outside world. And the bank goes, yeah, okay, no problem. Here you go, have fun. And so that's what I did. I didn't actually have that conversation, but you borrow all this money so that one day you'll have a piece of paper and a person will go, oh, hey, yeah, you went to college. Cool. We'll take that chance. You're probably really smart. Look, she went to college. Where'd you study? Oh, poetry. Good plan. We got ourselves a poet. Look, children, we have a poet in our midst. Grab that cash with both hands and make a stash. I'm into high fidelity first class. Yeah, go to college. We're going to teach you to be smart. So then you get out of college. And by then, you've learned to love college. At least I did. I didn't want to graduate. I was safe in my little world. I had a little job at the college, working in the print shop store. Michael, when you were in college, didn't you have a comic strip?
Yeah, I had a comic strip called Coffee House 5 that ran every week.
Yeah. You had your comic strip and, your little coffee house gigs. And, there was never more women in your life surrounded by single women. I mean, why would anybody want to graduate? So, but eventually they kick you out for passing all your classes. And you go, well, now what? Better get a job. So you get a job. and you realize the jobs are a little easier than some of your classes. And the bar is way lower on how well you need to write. People in the work world are barely literate. Nobody can write. Nobody wants to speak in public. So the big bluff is on. You go, oh, I'm a college grad, going to my college job. And then about a year later, you realize you don't remember a single thing you supposedly had learned in college. Like even the names of authors that you majored in. I took a whole class on William Butler Yeats and some other guy. I don't remember. But when you're an English major in college, it's like majoring in being a fan of writers. And I don't even like reading anymore. It's like, oh, why don't you read a book? Why? So I can have a little pretend story in my head that somebody else wrote. If I want to play make-believe, I'll make up my own story where I'm the hero. Oh, here's a story about some make-believe person. It's not you. So Jessica says, I see on your resume that you were out of work for 4 years. Can you explain that? That's when I went to Yale. Oh, that's impressive. You're hired. Thanks, I really needed this. YOB. Yeah. Oh, you've been out of the workforce for 4 years. What are you doing? Oh, I went to Yale. Oh, yeah, okay. That's the other thing. So you borrow $60,000. Now it's like $100,000 or something to go to college, and you're also not working for 4 years. And let's face it, for 5 years. It takes 5 years to get a 4-year degree. Nobody can take 5 classes every semester. So it takes 5 years. And so if you had been, working in those as a plumber or whatever, or doing anything for 5 years, even if you only made $25,000 a year, I mean, what's minimum? 25,000? After 5 years, that's $125,000 that you would have made. I don't know. It's quite a scam. College degrees are like magic beans. They really are. Oh, I got the magic beans. And you sell your cow. You trade the cow for it. You trade something that's actually valuable for the potential of something even more valuable. That's what that story is about. The Jack and the Beanstalk. His mom or his wife or somebody tells him to go sell the cow. And the problem with selling a cow, cows give milk for years. But when you go sell the cow, you go, okay, we need the cash now. So we're going to worry about food and milk later because we need some money. And she sends him off into town. And he gets to the bridge and there's a little grabbler, a goblin or something. He's like, hey, I'll give you these magic beans. Yeah, that's the ticket. But this is the weird thing. They actually were magic. In the end, it did. That goblin should have kept those beans. Could have went up to heaven and got a golden goose. Actually, it was a normal goose. He just, he pooped gold eggs. So he trades the beans, and he trades the cow, goes back, and his wife is all mad. She goes, "What, you dummy? I told you sell, not trade it for beans. If you're going to trade a whole cow for beans, why'd you just get a handful? You should have gotten like 50 pounds of magic beans. Or 100 pounds. I don't even know. How much do cows weigh? 100, 200 pounds? 500? I don't even know. So she throws them out the window. Because it's back in the days before screens and stuff. She can just throw it out the window. And it grows and grows. And it becomes Jack's magic beanstalk all the way up into the clouds. So naturally, as you do when something like that happens. And how come the people in town didn't wake up seeing that thing? Went, "Holy man, did you see that? There's something growing in Jack's yard. It goes all the way up to the sky." There would have been thousands of people there. The government would have come in. But for story's sake, he just climbs up, I mean, if a tree suddenly grew in my yard, I wouldn't just climb to the top first thing in the morning. But anyway, he does. He climbs up there, and he gets up there, and once again, what do we find? Giants! Disney makes that giant look like King Kong. Maybe the giant was just like Paul Bunyan tall. But so another giant comes out, fee, fi, fo, fum. And here's where the translation just in accents doesn't work. Because in English, they say man like mun. Their mom is their mum. A man is a mun. A car is a ka. So he says, fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an English mun. You're like, okay, an English mun, eh? So Jack goes, "Oh, wow, look, there's a big old giant. I better get out of here. But not before I grab this goose that poops gold eggs." Why? Don't know. and he jumps on that tree and he climbs down with the egg. And he's essentially stolen somebody else's property. And he gets to the bottom and somehow has time to saw down. I mean, that tree must have been like a whole city block wide. For it to be able to just stand and go up a mile into the sky. I don't get it. But he cuts down a tree, and the giant falls, and then dies, and it's a happy ending. Oh, good for you, Jack. You killed somebody and stole their stuff. Well, kids, I guess the moral of the story is murder and robbery is okay. And you have been listening to Mother Goose and the Brothers Grimm or whatever, white people stories for children. I don't want to hear anybody talk about how Ojibwe stories are boring anymore. Lots of times people, when they hear an Ojibwe story, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's so quaint." You can tell it was told back in a time before people had any I don't know. How, why the hummingbird hums. There are some kind of silly stories, but none of them are as dumb as Jack and the Beanstalk. Even Little Red Riding Hood's a weird story. What, you can't tell what her grandma looks like? You got a transgendered wolf? A child who walks through the wilderness to get to her grandmother's house? It's dangerous. And what happens in the end? Oh, grandmother, what big eyes you have. Oh, the better to see you with. Oh, grandma, what big teeth you have. The better to eat you with. Ah! Okay. Now that you've terrified the children, what's the moral of the story? Don't visit grandma? Don't trust wolves? Don't trust the transgendered? What is the moral of these stories? I don't know. I wish I did. Oh, Brandy's taking off. See you later, Brandy. Gigawabamin, Minawaha. Richard says he was English. Yeah. What is the moral of the story to Little Red Riding Hood? Don't visit grandma. Don't trust wolves. Don't trust the transgendered. I don't know. 3 little pigs? What's that? What's the moral of that story? There were 3 little pigs. One built a house of straws. One built a house of wood, and one a brick. And in this story, and only in this one story, wolves can blow houses down. What? Why? That's not an ability that a wolf has. Wolves can eat pigs, but they don't just blow down houses. Why is that a detail that they went, okay, in this story, like did, the Brothers Grimm, were they sitting in the writing room going, all right, here's one, bro. We'll have a wolf come to the pigs' houses. In this universe, pigs build their own houses. And he'll threaten them. He wants to be let in their house. Yeah, I'm with you. Sounds good so far. And he threatens that if they don't let him in, he'll blow their houses down. What, you mean like with dynamite? No, with his breath. And the other brother was like, yep, that sounds good. Write it down. We're going to publish this. And people will tell these stories forever. I don't know. And don't talk to strangers. Yeah, Jessica also said part of that story is don't talk to strangers. I don't know. What is the moral of these stories? And do the stories need a moral? I mean, it seems like our stories all have a moral, Like, have faith in the Great Spirit, I guess. Be brave. You know what? Every Ojibwe story, our morals all kind of come back to our values. I think that's why the animals... Here we go. The 7 grandfather teachings. Because in each story, there's always like a story of somebody being courageous or showing respect or having humility, Like Beaver. He had to learn humility by having his beautiful tail get smashed. So I think our stories are meant to sort of entertain, but also teach the children a certain kind of way of living, how to be a good person. That's always the kind of the story behind it. All right. Well, hey, look at the time. It's already 6 minutes until 7. Michael, you want to come say goodbye to everyone? Yeah, sure. All right. Well, hey, everybody, I'm going to mahjong. I'm going to leave. Mahjong. Leave. But in Leech Lake, we always say, I got a mahjong. Like mahjong. I got to leave. So thank you for watching. Gigawabamin. What? That's not how you say it. Miigwech ganawabiyeg. Thank you for watching. And I will see you again. Gigawabamin. Minawa. Hawa. Michael, would you be so kind as to carry me over there?
You bet.
All right, see you later. Oh, you're so strong.
Yeah, I know. I've been working out.
Of course, I don't weigh that much because I don't even have legs.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. Oops. Bonjour, everybody. Yep, just wanted to stop in and say hello before we sign out. We just completed, was this our first or second week of doing the live streams? I think it might be the second week of doing this every day. And part of me thinks like, oh, I should just do this weekdays or maybe just certain days. But the reality is I'm always sitting here at the same time every morning. And so, there may come a time, I'm sure there'll come a time where I just don't show up. But otherwise, it's been really fun doing these live streams. I really appreciate that you guys show up every morning. So I want to say, good morning to Richard and Jessica and Jim. Jim Dunn. Are you a Trekkie, Jim? I'm such a hopeless. I didn't realize it. I always thought I was a cool kid when I was in high school because I went to a small school. And in my school, you could participate in everything. So I was a starter on the basketball team. And I participated in football and baseball, and I played in the band, and I was in plays, and I had a circle of friends, and I had dates. I got to do everything. I thought I was a popular kid. Because if you compared me to, like, TV people, and this is also the early 80s. It was before anybody cared about bullying. So I didn't think, getting bullied made you a nerd. It was just like a rite of passage. Everybody got bullied. It was nothing personal. So yeah, I did get my underwear pulled up, and I've been punched in the arm repeatedly by tougher kids. Bullied. But it never made me think I was a nerd until I got older and I started going, man, I was into all the nerdy stuff, like Dungeons and Dragons, science fiction. What else? Even comic books, superheroes, stuff like that. I was pretty nerdy in most ways. And even my friends who I thought were cool, when I look back on pictures of them, like I looked fairly normal, but I had friends with the big glasses and tape, who were smart kids, but also like dungeon masters, and there were a lot of we were pretty nerdy kids, really. But I'll save those stories of my childhood for another morning. And Grieving Turtle is here. Hello, my girl. I underawakened. Kessler's and cream soda helped me sleep in. Kessler's and cream soda. Is Kessler's a type of alcohol? I feel so out of it. See how nerdy I am? I know what cream soda is because, again, as a nerd, I've had cream soda. I don't think cool people drink cream soda. So yeah, well, that's about all the time we have for today. I want to wish you a very happy Friday. If you have to go to work, this is the big day. I hope it's payday for you. But I'm sure I'll most likely be back in the morning doing this again. I'd like to thank NANABOOZHOO and Natasha for being on the show. And Jessica says, we would have been friends in high school, definitely. All of my favorite people are nerdy. Yeah. Grieving Turtle says, nerds go to Brainerd. Mild whiskey. Oh, okay. Kessler's is a whiskey. I used to drink Is Seagram's a whiskey? Seagram 7? We'll talk about booze tomorrow. All right. Thank you for watching. Miigwech Ganawabieg. And I will see you again. Gigawabamin, Minawa. Hoa.